as anyone who's a vegan who's listening to this knows, we teach the children to love the animals, and then we teach them that it's okay to kill them.
Are you ready to live the life you deserve? Do you want to feel vibrantly healthy and reach your optimal weight without dieting while being kind to animals and the planet? Then you're in the right place at the right times. Welcome to Plant-Based Eating for Health with your host, certified plant-based nutritionist, Kathleen Gage.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health, and today I am thrilled beyond thrilled to welcome in my featured expert, Caroline Allen. And Caroline has a very colorful background, to say the least. She comes from a place of being an extremely successful journalist, traveling around the world, based out of Tokyo and London at one point, not at the same time, at two different times, and had a calling that completely turned her world upside down. She was raised in the Midwest as an avid meat eater. She'll tell you about that and how she came to the life of being a bona fide, committed, aligned vegan. So Caroline, great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
You know, I'd like to start with you giving a bit about your background so that people understand where you came from and your journey into your professional life, and what was your calling into the life of being a vegan?
So I grew up on a subsistence farm in the Midwest, and we just had a few chickens and cows and actually didn't do much store-bought food. We hunted and we fished. And I was about 12 when that changed. And I remember the first bit of store-bought food was the Wonder Bread bag with the colorful circles on it. I don't know, I have that memory of, oh, now we're buying store-bought food. So my childhood involved, I would collect the eggs from the chickens. It was a very beautiful experience for me. And I would milk bottle feed calves taken too soon from their mothers. And then within whatever amount of time it took both of those creatures to come to maturation, I was involved in killing them, right? So as anyone who's a vegan who's listening to this knows, you know, this is like we teach the children to love the animals, and then we teach them that it's okay to kill them. So anyway, at first, as I grew up and I went abroad, basically I got a scholarship to university. My parents had very little education. In their 70s, 60s and 70s, they got their GEDs. So they didn't have high school. They're very poor, very dirt poor. We weren't as dirt poor because my mother's a very strong woman. And I got a scholarship to university, 4-year journalism school, and I just wanted out of Missouri. So I just went to Tokyo knowing no one and without a job, and got a job, worked for the newspapers there, and then was a travel writer through Asia, and then worked in London at the Financial Times. Ultimately, that was my last place, the Financial Times. I was at the independent newspaper when Princess Diana died, and was very, that was a pivotal time in the UK. Then I had this call, which starts as depression. I don't know if other people feel this who are listening to this, but my call and many of my clients' calls start as depression. And I was really depressed and I didn't want to be in the newsroom anymore. And it took a lot. It took a lot to get me out of it, mostly starting with depression. I moved back to the States, and part of my journey of finding my nature, my inner nature, had to do with my alignment with outer nature. So for the first time as an adult, I got back into nature. I went hiking and camping in the Pacific Northwest and fell in love with it after London and Tokyo, as you can imagine. But I missed my jet-setting life. So it was also the resistance. And part of my journey of getting to know myself as a novelist and a visual artist, part of that alignment with my inner nature had to do with alignment with outer nature. And my pivotal moment came, 2 things. I saw Food Inc., the documentary, and I was with a friend, and we were sitting in 2 recliners, and the lights were dimmed, and I was trying not to show that I was just wailing, crying, watching Food Inc. And it was really huge wake-up call that I was an accomplice or complicit to the abuse of animals. The second wake-up call came creating a Thanksgiving dinner for just a friend of mine and I. And the turkey I got was on sale because I'm an artist. I'm trying to save money. It was so frozen solid, you couldn't even tell it was being. And I walked home with it, and it was so heavy, and it was so frozen solid. And it was that moment that I thought, this is not right. I'm not necessarily huge on my childhood and how hard it was to put your animals, but compared to the food industry, like what we had was, at least they had, lots of room to roam. And if they were hunted, they had a wildlife. But it was that moment that I was just a huge wake-up call. I was sickened by the smell of meat after that. I was sickened by the look of the slabs under plastic on styrofoam, which felt just so unnatural and unreal. And so I went vegetarian first, and I let myself be a vegetarian for 2 years, and didn't even think about veganism until I went to a farm animal sanctuary and painted the portraits of some of the animals. And the owner talked to me about veganism, and I asked her why and did some research and understood how important it was to not eat animal byproducts either, or wear them, etc.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to unwrap here. And, one of the things you said was when you were a child, you were taught to love animals, but then kill animals.
Yeah.
And, it really, that's a big aha for a lot of people, because we don't realize how confused the whole lifestyle of eating meat really is. That here, people, I work with people in the pet industry, and they love animals, and they nurture and they rescue, and then they go and eat a big old steak. And it's like, I remember the first pet conference I went to, I actually thought it was going to be completely vegetarian at least. And here they brought out salmon, chicken, and steak. And I was like, this is interesting. And it really confused me. But explain for the people who may not have a complete understanding, because we have a lot of people who are 100% committed to a plant-based vegan lifestyle. And then we have people who they're plant-based curious. It's like, what does that really mean? So when you were vegetarian, what did that mean compared to you being vegan?
Oh, okay. So vegetarian, basically I ate yogurt, and I drank milk, and I ate cheese, and I love cheese. So I will tell you that the hardest thing for me to give up was cheese more than anything. And so that's the difference for me. And also, I also let it be a process. So I want to say to anyone who's curious, I personally let it be a process. I let myself actually spend a year to go vegetarian first, and then 2 years to go vegan, because I realized that I needed to go an entire week without cheese to even see what that felt like, right? Before just saying, I'm going to go vegan and give it up.
Right.
So I want to tell everyone this is what I believe personally, that if you make it a process and test it out, it's so much easier. You didn't ask this, but I want to add, I eat so much better than I did when I ate meat. So much better.
Actually, you must have been reading my mind, because that was going to be my question of like, how has your health improved? How has your energy improved? Okay. Let's talk about that, because I just turned 66, and I run on a regular basis. I feel I've seen pictures from a few years ago before I was plant-based, and I'm going, I look older then than I do now.
Yeah, no kidding.
So let's talk about the health benefits.
Okay. So this actually comes with a story that I gave up journalism because I was called to give it up, and this is all related to the veganism, but I really missed, when you become an artist and a writer, you're a nobody for a very long time. And I was a somebody. And I missed being a somebody, damn it. So I went back, I got a journalism job in Seattle at the Seattle PI. And I was working, this is related to the food, believe it or not. I was working on the night shift, and we roamed desks, which means nothing was ergonomic. And there was a desk right next to the managing editor's desk that had a police scanner on it. And as I was sitting there working on a shipping story, a little boy was talking to the police about how his daddy had a gun and he was going to shoot his mommy. And in that moment, after so many years of doing journalism, so much trauma, reporting trauma, so much trauma, my body shut down and my arms gave out. And basically, it's called dead arm syndrome. It has to do with the nerves being blocked here, apparently, because I had so much physical therapy, years of trying everything. I tried crystal healing. I tried physical therapy. I tried chiropractic healing. I tried energy healing. I tried everything. And not a single doctor mentioned my diet. Not a single doctor mentioned my diet. And I was already vegetarian at this time. I was going vegan. And what I looked into was a diet that within that also was non-inflammatory. So I can't eat things like almonds, for example, or too many raisins. But the point is that changing going vegetarian and veganism helped my arms 80 to 85%. And then doing the non-inflammatory diet took it to 100%. And I could not lift a teacup without worries. So if I was at the grocery store, things would drop out of my hands. Once I had physical therapy, I'd use my arms a little bit. Things would drop out of my hands. Somebody handed me their baby. I had to immediately go down to the pavement because I had no idea if I was going to drop the baby. And now I haul wood. I just recently erected a yurt.
That was your 50th birthday gift, right?
Yeah, my 50th birthday gift.
I love it.
I haul. I do heavy work. I work out, and my health is 1,000 times better than the sickliness that I had before.
And how long have you been vegan?
I was trying to figure that out. I was looking back. So it's been at least 8-9 years.
Okay. And I love you're an artist, and you actually sent me a video, which we'll put the link below so people can enjoy that video, where you took me on a tour of your yurt and the beautiful paintings and pictures that you have of animals. And each one, it's like I really encourage people to watch that video because there's so much energy that comes through the lens, and I could feel your love of these animals and some of the pain that you experienced as you were transitioning. Now, tell us about what made you, first of all, I know that you're in the Pacific Northwest, you're in Oregon, which we're practically neighbors. I live outside of Eugene in a small farming community, and you're out in the boonies, like really out in the boonies. I love it. Tell people about your life in Oregon and your yurt and what compels you to do all the art you do? Because I know in 2014 and 2016, you made a commitment that every single day you were going to create a piece of artwork, and you did that.
Yeah. So, oh my God, this is so huge and fills my heart to talk about it. Thank you so much. But so the biggest thing, I'm also a coach. So I book coach. I coach people who are writing books. And in my own books, this is all related. It's the more we get in touch with nature and aligned with the balance of nature internally with our inner natures and externally with how we're reacting with nature, the more who we really are creatively just starts to explode out of us. So as a book coach, I'm really big on this. Like, let's just get aligned with your authenticity and your authentic voice. So as a book coach, I'll have clients go from, they write the book and then they become a performance artist. They write the book and they drop their first music single. They write the book and they become a dance. They've already wanted to be a dancer, and then they fully become a dancer. So the same thing happened to me. I wrote my novels, and my novels are based on the elements: earth, air, fire, water, ether. And as I did that, my inner nature aligned. And from that, the art started exploding out of me. When I was little, I used to do art and I'd win awards, but I hadn't done art in 30 years. Mm-hmm. But then suddenly it's exploding out of me. And at the same time, I'm going vegan. So I made a decision to go to a farm animal sanctuary in Oregon, in Silverton. It's called Green Acres, to get to know the animals and paint their portraits. And a few of those are on the video. And first off, I called it Beauty of the Beast. That's what I called the process, Beauty of the Beast. And then secondly, I realized a better phrase would be I was healing my own animal body. So I called it Healing My Animal Body, because as an empathic artist person, every time I butchered an animal, I was basically felt like I was, there were scars and cuts to myself.
Well,
happening.
and I want to visit with that for a minute, because a lot of people, when they hear people talk about veganism, they go, "Oh, that's just airy fairy hippie stuff," and I'm a real man, I'm a real woman, I eat meat. Let's really address the whole energy about putting dead animals in our body, because I'm coming up on 2 years, and I don't know if I shared this with you when we had a conversation before this one, but at about 6 months, I was at the grocery store walking by the meat department, and I literally stopped in my tracks, and I was just overcome with pain, and I felt the pain of the animals. And it was like, in that moment, everything it was so anchored in that I could never, ever consume animals again. And it's like, unfortunately, a lot of people say, "Oh, that's just such a radical way to eat." And it's like, if they saw the process of factory farming, and when I started this station, it was more about just plant-based eating and healthy eating. But now it really gets into the whole ethics and the energy and the compassion. And I'm so committed to raising awareness. So let's talk about with the whole energy of food. And if somebody is somewhat thinking about it, what could you share with them that might encourage them to at least try it for a little while?
Well, so people say, first off, you're having the physical hormones. If you're purchasing it at the supermarket, right? Not everyone has the luxury to go, I know a farmer like you and I do. I know a farmer who grain feeds and lovingly treats their animals. I wouldn't even eat those, but not everybody has that luxury to start with, or the finances, especially during a pandemic, to just purchase the meat that's like that. But the first thing I would say is a pandemic requires health. A pandemic requires a really high immune system, and this is stuff that's going to continue. And if you want to improve your immune system just on a physical, scientific level, you really don't want to be eating this meat with all of the stuff in it. On a metaphysical level, or a psychological or spiritual level, I absolutely believe that there is no way their pain isn't affecting us when we eat them. There's just no way. I've said that for years. It's a fact. It's funny that you said this, because this is my thing I've said for years. There's no way, if you have depression, that it's a good idea to eat animals who are oppressed and treated badly, and that isn't affecting you as well. Yeah. And then even beyond that, just being a decent human being, there's a reason they won't allow photos in the factory farming, because if you saw it, being a decent human being, you would never treat it. You would never treat an animal like that. I believe everybody listening to this would never treat an animal like they're being treated.
Right. And yet what I find interesting is how people treat themselves by not, the whole thing with the pandemic. I know it's real. I know a lot of people are dying. And yet I also know that most of the complications come from underlying causes that are a direct result of what we put in our body, which is the meat and the dairy. And it's so amazing, because people are willing to wear the mask. They're willing to social distance. They're willing to do the stay at home and whatever else we're supposed to do, wash our hands, just common sense things at this point in time. And yet they say, "Oh, I could never give up meat," or "I could never give up cheese." And yet when you look at the diseases that we have as a result of it, it's like, I feel there's an urgency to educating people that we're putting a Band-Aid on it, and we need to get to the root of what the issue is. And the root is not going to a surgeon to have the cancer cut out. The root is healing the cancer or healing the diabetes. And, so with the energy of animals, what have you noticed in your life that has shifted energetically? Now, I know you're an empath, and a client of mine wrote a book about empathics, and she's an artist, just a phenomenal woman. And it's so interesting to realize that most people are empaths, but they're so blocked energetically that they will never discover that about themselves. So share with us your thoughts on that.
Okay, so you said something before the empath thing that I wanted to speak to, and now it's left me right before it. Oh, Oh, my relationship with animals. I've got
Okay.
it. Because
Okay. You got to remember, hey, I'm older than you. Come on.
I know, right? Like I brought a piece of paper and a pen, but I didn't have it on my knee because I'm going to have to take notes. When I did the farm animal sanctuary and getting to know the animals, it was Hugo and Daisy and Rockstar Rooster. And I had never understood that these are sentient individual beings until you look in the eyes and when you draw something, you become very intimate with it. And that's what's changed dramatically for me. And it adds this incredible amount of abundance to your life. So it's not just, so we're surrounded by all this life that isn't just people, right? Mm-hmm. It's animals. And then that shifted my understanding of really getting to know sentient beings like trees. And it's why I live in the forest and have my yurt in the forest, because I actually feel like I'm surrounded by this aliveness and these alive beings versus this is a resource to put in my mouth to feed me, right? That's the difference. It went from a standardized understanding of animals, like even the word animals, right? There are mm-hmm. billions of subcategories of different types of animals to Rockstar Rooster, getting to know an actual rooster, getting to know an actual horse, getting to know all these different animals in this farm sanctuary.
Nice. We just adopted a rooster, and he and I had a little falling out yesterday. We have a garden, and I was picking cherries or cherry tomatoes, and I was bent over, and he literally attacked me. And I was like, man. Dude. And so we had to have a conversation about that because everybody here has to get along. But now this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health, and I'm talking with Caroline Allen. And Caroline is a writer. She's a book coach. She's an artist. She has a yurt with hundreds of images that she has created in the yurt. And you were sharing that you've actually raised money for nonprofits, animal sanctuary nonprofits, through your artwork. Tell us about that.
Okay, so I'm going to do more of that, Kathleen. So what happened was when I went to the Farm Animal Sanctuary in Silverton, I did not realize how it would so affect me after I painted 3 or 4 animals. I was so affected that I didn't realize it was going to take years to heal the level of butchering and how it affected me. And I wouldn't have intellectually said that was going to happen. So I have absolutely given paintings of animals to, I think it's called Art for Animals' Sake. And they have auctioned those off and Nice. They get the money for that. But we had a conversation before this video started that I think is a great idea, is to get back to those paintings, collect them, and do a sale where the profits go to the farm animal sanctuaries. Because there's a fantastic one in my town, Estacada, as well. Just fantastic, vegan.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Yeah.
And we'll be posting the video from YouTube up so that people can see your artwork, because who was the goat with the big floppy ears?
Johnny.
Oh
Johnny.
My gosh, that was awesome. That was awesome. And now how can people find you? What's your web address?
Okay, it's carolineallen.com.
Okay, carolineallen.com.
And that will take you, I have a different name for my coaching site, Art of Storytelling, but there's a link on there that will take you to the coaching site. Yeah.
And do you have pictures of your artwork up on your website?
Oh, yes. Lots and lots.
Great. So if somebody, I'm going to kind of, be the go-between here. If somebody is interested in getting some of your artwork and the proceeds go to the sanctuary, how would they get in touch with you?
Okay. So what I'm going, on my website is a contact
Perfect
information. What I'm going to do between now and the time this is posted is create a specific page for the animals.
Perfect.
To make it easier and to get that organized. So that would be great.
Well, you better hurry because this is going to be posted really soon. I love this, this conversation.
Really? Oh my God. Okay.
Is wonderful. And and it's so wonderful because I did an interview for a summit earlier today. It was a spiritual summit, and we talked about being aligned in your business and what your values are. And for me, it's like the more I can raise awareness so that people really understand that they've been misled by advertisers. The food manufacturers, they subsidize the McDonald's, the Taco Bells, the Wendy's, and people say, well, it's cheaper for me to eat at McDonald's because I can get $1 hamburger. But if they knew how much that was subsidized and the long-term cost, it's not just the short-term.
Yeah, because it's expensive.
Let's talk about some of the menus that you create, and let's talk cost-effective, because right now there's a lot of people that have food insecurities, and we live off the land a lot. You do, and we do. We've got a beautiful garden, and it's really not that expensive to eat plant-based and vegan. What would you say is a really inexpensive main meal that you could give a quick recipe for?
I didn't do a major garden this year because I have too many books coming out and stuff going on. So I just did pots of lettuce.
Okay.
So one of the things I want to tell people who are big meat eaters, your palate will change. Your palate changes. What makes you feel filled up will change. What makes you feel good after you eat will change. So right now, if you're a meat eater, you're perceiving this like, I'm going to eat lettuce like a rabbit. What are you saying, right? But what I want to say is I'll take the lettuce in, I'll bring it in. So I'm doing different potted vegetables this year. Take the lettuce in, put seeds. I put seeds on it. I put cashews. I grow the tomato, and then all the different herbs that you can put on it. I'm getting excited about it right now. And then for me, I love to marinate tempeh and just cut it in squares and have a salad and maybe some organic beans as well. And that is a super delicious meal. But even going from the meat-based, where you have a chicken breast, mashed potatoes, and some vegetable, and then you eat pie for dessert. I mean, this is very Midwestern diet. To the absolute excitement. And I don't think the expense is any greater than meat. I just really don't. You just go find what you like, and the excitement of finding different things to put together. Right. To me, that has been just like getting to know animals or sentient beings, and then leading to trees or sentient beings. Your diet changes, so everything becomes more exciting.
Absolutely.
And more abundant, right? Instead of I think the old way is really boring and not full of colors. So you're also looking at these colors in your food. As an artist, to me, that's exciting to even eat the colors. How exciting is that?
Absolutely. Well, I love what you said about your palate does change, because that's something that I noticed. And there's certain foods that I was addicted to before. I was completely addicted to processed sugar. And now it's I don't do processed sugar. And, it's just, I would say for people to just give it a shot, give it a try for even 7 days, because within 7 days, you're going to notice a huge difference. And especially somebody who's dealing with inflammation, if they're dealing with, sore muscles and all that. It's amazing what can happen in such a short period of time.
No body aches.
Oh, it's crazy. Well, I went on a run this morning, a 2-mile run, and I was going to go further, but I had that interview. And so I just had to push myself. And I was thinking, this is so awesome. And it's the gift of being a plant-based vegan lifestylist. So,
absolutely. I want to say as well, it affected my dips of my depression. So a lot of people, because of the pandemic, are going through depression. So one of the things I want to say is, no matter what, the pandemic is depressing. All right. So that's a given. But everything's going to start to shift. We're out of balance as a planet. There are going to be more things happening like this. So how are you going to manage your depression? This is what I say. And I had it I'd sink into the deepest holes in the past. Now it goes up and down much less. Before it was like this.
Right.
And now it does go up and down a bit, just to be honest. But another thing that changing your diet does and getting healthy and being vegan is the level of the way it helps your moods and I guess it's the hormone level. I wish I knew more about that.
Thank you for mentioning that, because that's a huge distinction I've noticed, and especially with the pandemic, because quite seriously, when the pandemic hit, as a keynote speaker, I panicked, because it was oh, there go all my contracts. I would go out to conferences, I would be on the platform, and that came to a screeching halt. And I was accustomed to a certain level of income, and it was gone. And so I had to reinvent myself. But what I found most interesting was I was able to stay really focused, really clear.
Yeah.
I rolled up my sleeves. I created a new membership program, and it's going great. I mean, it's we're going right back to a nice financial position. And Yet so much has changed. But I love the fact that you said that the moods are much more consistent. And I think that's something, especially in light with everything that's going on. I always recommend don't watch the news, eat a lot of plants, a lot of beans, legumes, drink plenty of water, get some exercise. And this is the thing that, and maybe you've noticed this too, when I really committed to the whole plant-based lifestyle and just started noticing I had more and more energy, people were like, where do you get all this energy?
Yes. This is
just
what
have
people
it.
say. What are you on? Tell me what you're on.
Can I have some of it?
Yeah.
Here's a salad.
Because
here's some beans. Yeah.
if you're a creative person, like an artist or a writer, I just finished a written interview on this very subject, just like you were interviewed this morning, so was I. It's so funny, on this very subject. And if you're creative, what I have found is the level of creative energy I have is people will constantly ask, how can you do all of the art and all of the novels? I was like, I'm trying to tell you and you won't listen.
Exactly.
They
want an easy button.
Place.
Yeah.
I know.
People, they want that instant gratification. And this is probably the best drug I could ever have. And I'm clean and sober. I've been clean and sober 36 years. So I know a lot about drugs,
Wow.
and this is like the best high that somebody can have because it's so consistent.
It's really unbelievable. And I want to say less than 2 years ago, I went complete sobriety.
Oh, good for you.
I didn't do a lot. Like I just, smoked weed and drank wine a couple nights a week. And the total sobriety as well has helped immensely. So
immensely.
Yes. And what it does is, it's just enjoyment of life. So this is what I tell my clients, or I tell people, you might die. I might die, with or without the pandemic. So am I going to live today to the greatest, most passionate way I can? Right, Kathleen? Like,
absolutely.
That's what I say to people. So sitting in like the hunched fear, and the depression, I don't want to be the positivity person who pretends we may not die, because we may.
Everybody eventually will.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, and we may sooner rather than later is
right.
When I said may, sorry. But the biggest thing is then, how am I going to live right now? Damn it. How am I going to live right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health. I'm talking with Caroline Allen, who is based out of a remote area in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, has a beautiful, beautiful backdrop. And that's the real deal, her backdrop. It's just amazing. And she's an artist. She's a writer. She is a book coach. And you can find her information at carolineallen.com. We'll go ahead and put that link in the description below. And as we close this conversation, what are your final thoughts for people as far as just living a quality life and really tending to the earth and the planet and the people that they come in contact with on a daily basis?
So what I would love to say, Kathleen, if it's okay, so it's all about process. So the biggest thing I would say to anybody who's plant-based, who's listening to this, who wants to be plant-based and is listening to this, and who's still on the fence, let it be a process. And I write about this. So I'm writing a series of 5 books: Earth, Air, Fire, Water, Ether. Water's coming out in October. And Ether's about veganism. So I haven't gotten to veganism and water, but all of it is about, I was called to write it. It's fiction, but it's to help people see what process looks like. And we live in the mainstream world, the concept is always product, which is just get it done. This is the end result. In the new system that I believe we're coming into, it's much more what they're calling the divine feminine, which is much more about process. Mother Earth is about process, right? The plant grows, flowers, gives us fruit, and then dies. It's all process. And so what I would just say to anyone right now, if you're going through the pandemic and you're having depression, it's hard to be isolated, I know, and you're feeling shut down creatively, start the process by doing one simple thing. And if you can do one thing in 1 week and the next week do 2 things, think of it like that, like taking steps. And there are so many people like Kathleen who are out there like passionately holding the space for you. And right, Kathleen? We're so passionate about it, right?
Absolutely.
we're here. We're passionately holding the space. So just take the baby steps is how I would put it right now, instead of, because I think the overwhelming feeling is I'm going through so much already. Now you're going to make me give up meat.
Right.
So baby steps, I think.
I love that. I love that. Well, I have been talking with the amazing Caroline Allen, and we will put all her information below in the show notes. And Caroline, I just want to say thank you so much for all that you're doing. And I have a feeling some really amazing things are coming very shortly for you. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, putting the message out there, doing the good for the animals, because we actually rescue animals in our home.
Oh, cool.
Cool. We have horses, dogs, a cat. Cool. We have 3 chickens and a new rooster, who he and I, we are getting to know each other a little too much for my liking. He's being a little too intimate with me. So let's just put it that way. It's like, no. But anyway,
I think, Kathleen, there might be some alpha.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
Figuring out the alpha.
Absolutely.
Thing, yeah.
So I need to establish my alpha with him. So, but Caroline, thank you so much. And for everybody that is sitting on the fence with going plant-based, again, it's a process. Do what you can and think of the kindness and compassion to animals as you go along your journey to better health. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kathleen, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.